Turkish nation and the Republic of Turkey for the last 7 years has been going through a historic phase, and we have witnessed many traps, many attacks. We have weathered many storms all throughout these 7 years, all sorts of treason, all sorts of suffering, and many different sorts of problems. Again, during this period, we were engaged in a lot of heroism, a lot of struggle and courage, and we have also achieved a lot of triumphs. Thankfully, in the face of these treasons, we have triumphed. We have been able to weather all these storms, and our nation has been able to stand this test of trials and tribulations. All of these victories that we have achieved help us assume a more positive approach about our future. In the past, our democracy and our economy suffered as a result of even the slightest bump, and unfortunately in our country we have suffered a lot, but now we are a regional and global power, and we stand these tests, trials and tribulations with great strength. And the most important, the most critical change came thanks to this new system, the new executive presidency system that was implemented for the first time in 2014. The president was elected for the first time by the public, and on the 16th of April 2017 we had a referendum, and 24th of June 2018 we had the presidential elections, and we were able to move towards this executive presidency system. During the 15th of July, coup attempt, our nation took to the streets, and the People's Alliance was actually formed for the first time, and this alliance was made possible thanks to the Nationalist Movement PARTİ, Mr. Bahçeli, the chairman, and all the supporters of MHP deserve a word of thanks for this People's Alliance. On the night of 15th of July, our nation paid a very hefty price for our independence, and as such we have taken a place of pride in the history of democracy in the world. We have shed blood in order to preserve our motherland, and all our martyrs, especially the martyrs of 15th of July 2015, deserve our gratitude. Both inside Turkey and outside Turkey, we have been engaged in counter-terrorism efforts, and our martyrs, our fallen soldiers, also have a special place in our heart. The Turkish nation, with its citizens and with its security officers, will continue on this path of independence and security, and we are inching towards a victory day by day. And we will continue this struggle forevermore in order to achieve full independence. We always attach great importance to our national anthem, and we never forget the important message in this national anthem. Let us preserve the motherland. Let us put our lives in the line, and the promised days will come. Maybe tomorrow, maybe earlier than tomorrow. Yes, for those tomorrows, for that future, we are ready to put our lives on the line and shed blood. And we believe that our nation also appreciates the importance of this. When we look at around the world, we see tensions in politics, in economy, and since the beginning of this year, the coronavirus pandemic has been wreaking havoc all across the world, and we have seen the negative implications of this pandemic. And in the face of this, in many different areas, many countries are having a very difficult time, but Turkey is standing tall and strong, and as such Turkey has demonstrated how different it is than the rest of the countries around the world. As the presidency, we have been coordinating the efforts in Turkey, and Turkey has become a role model all across the world from this point of view. We believe that our biggest strength is our unity, is our togetherness, is our fraternity, and as such we walk towards our goals in a determined fashion. In this glorious march, we would like to thank everyone who have been supporting us. Members of our honorable nation, dear guests, the executive presidential system actually is a culmination of our 200-year-old process for more democracy in Turkey, and it is the only reform that has been put into place by popular vote. All the other changes were instigated by wartime measures or at times of extraordinary affairs, but this reform that is in essence overlapping with the spirit of the Republic was actually initiated by the popular vote. During this period, we did whatever we could in the direction that the nation showed us. On the 24th of June elections, I was elected as the first executive president, and 26 million citizens voted for me. But I am grateful not just to them, but to the entire population of Turkey. In the new system, we have the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches, and the relationship between these pillars have become much clearer. Every branch now can serve the nation and the country in their own remit, in their own allocated area of mandate. And thanks to this new executive presidential system, Turkey has been able to act faster and in a more determined fashion when faced with regional and global crises. In the East Mediterranean, and also regarding the coronavirus pandemic, we have seen concrete benefits of the executive presidential system. Do we not have certain mishaps, or do we not have certain weaknesses? Of course, but thanks to the opportunities bestowed upon us by the new system, we can address these shortcomings, and we can correct these shortcomings with great speed. Just like every other change, it will take some time for this executive presidential system to take hold. When we were changing our presidential system, we actually knew that there would be certain shortcomings. It is not easy to change habits, as we all know, and we are also experiencing this problem personally. But step by step, we are inching closer towards our targets, and we overcome these barriers. In no other period in our lives did we do something against the nation. We never thought of even standing against the nation. We believe that the state can only prosper thanks to the prosperity of our citizens, and that has been our guiding motto in everything that we do. Sultan al-Bahrain, which means the conqueror, emperor of two continents and two seas, also told us to win hearts by achieving prosperity all across the nation. Ayasofya is now in line with the wishes of Fatih the Conqueror, is now become a mosque once again, and this decision actually is a reflection of this philosophy. In terms of its border security, Turkey has been launching some operations in line with international agreements in every step that we take, and in terms of decisions that we make inside Turkey, we exercise our national sovereignty rights. Some countries in the past committed sins of colonization and massacres, but we have no such history. We never impinged upon other countries' rights, but we will continue to exercise fully our own rights, both within Turkey and outside Turkey. It could be north of Iraq, or it could be north of Syria, or it could well be the Peace Spring operation, or in Idlib, or in Libya, be it in regarding our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters, and in struggles instigated by Armenia. We will never leave the downtrodden alone, and we will never do that in the future either. In our country, in our vicinity, we will always be defenders of peace, stability, and we will always be exhibiting a stance that is in line with humanitarian values, and as such we will demonstrate our difference. We have no stakes in other people's territorial integrity, natural resources, or security, and what we have done today actually demonstrates that. Our interlocutors may be engaged in immorality, but our faith and our history requires us to stick to our own path, and we will never sway from this path. And we will never be bogged down by small interests. We will never turn our backs towards our citizens and the interests of our nation. Up until today, that's how we have acted, and in the future we will exhibit the same principled stance that is based on humanitarian values, and we will continue our struggle with this principle in mind. Honorable members of our nation, dear guests, thanks to the executive presidential system, in our system, fundamental changes took place. Of course, this presidential system can actually give us the opportunity to make changes if needs be. It is a dynamic system, and right now, again, we believe that certain things can be changed. We never exhibit a stubborn stance. Things can always be improved when we can pursue something that is better. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for change. Up until today, with presidential decrees, many structural reforms were made possible, and in the cabinet and in the top echelons of bureaucracy, when the need arose, we were able to always give roles to new names, and in the future as well, for reforms and to initiate change, we will continue on this path. Now, as we were establishing this new system, we reduced the number of ministries to 16, down from 35, and also we appointed a deputy president, and many institutions that reported to the prime ministry were linked with relevant ministries. Certain ministries were kept, and their functions and their affiliated institutions were changed, and some ministries were actually merged. And in this new architecture, at the top we have the president, and the ministries report to the president directly, and there are institutions, policy councils, and other offices, other units that report directly to the president, and all of these actually work together in tandem, hand in glove. And that's how we devised this new executive presidential system. As soon as we established our cabinet, we announced an action plan for the first 100 days on the 3rd of August 2018, and the second 100-day plan was actually announced on the 13th of December 2018. As the president, in addition to representing the state as someone who was elected by popular vote, and who I'm also responsible for the executive branch, in terms of legislative and judiciary branches, we also work in coordination, and we have completed, thankfully, our second year as the president. Thanks to the executive presidential system, our state can now act much more decisively, and thankfully we have not experienced any major problems so far. The presidency, ministries, and affiliated institutions in 2018 actually had 54,000 units, and with the mergers in 2020, this number is 152,000. In terms of local authorities and at times of pandemics, despite these two important incidents, there were no shortcomings in the executive branch. In the last 2 years, 64 decrees were announced and 2,700 decisions were announced. And on the 9th of July 2019, since then in Ankara, in Istanbul, we carried out our work, but we also traveled all across the nation in order to embrace our nation. Similarly, in 2018, we visited 16 countries. In 2019, 14 countries were visited. In 2020, 10 countries were visited. That's 47 visits in total on an international scale. We were able to pursue the interests of our nation. 98 statesmen were hosted during this time, and with our counterparts, 366 telephone conversations were made to discuss pertinent subjects on our agenda and regarding all sorts of regional and global issues. Turkey has become a country that international leaders seek to speak with and consult with. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have realized once again the importance of digitalization, and we have also made great progress in that regard, and we were able to streamline the public services that we offer. 24,000 services were simplified and reduced down to 8,000, and the number of documents sought from citizens were reduced to 833, down from 42,000. And right after the executive presidential system was initiated in Turkey, the number of documents sought from our citizens were actually reduced by 95%. In terms of official correspondence and the time it takes in incoming, there has been a 71% decrease, and in outgoing 32% decrease, which has been a welcome step. And we increased the number of electronic organizations, and the number of citizens with an e-government password increased by 27%. The number now totals 48 million citizens. Now, the total login numbers, last year it was 1.2 billion. And actually, during the first 6 months of this year, we have reached that level. Thanks to all of these exercises and projects, in the UN digital index, out of 193 countries, Turkey currently ranks 22nd, thanks to these efforts. In investments in 2018 and 2019, a total of 2.3 trillion Turkish lira actually came to Turkey, and 309 of this is in public investments, 2 trillion is in private sector, and including the pandemic period, 180-day execution program brought forward 2,300 main actions, 93% of which have been completed. July of last year, 2019-2023, development plan was actually announced, and the main policy document, 11th developmental plan, was actually also announced. According to Ease of Doing Business Index of World Bank, in the last 2 years, Turkey from 60th place rose up to the 33rd place. And we have also been helping our national companies that focus on high technology. We also created a risk financing fund in order to support investments. We have established logistics centers and interconnection centers and combined transportation legislation is also something that we have been working on. In terms of performance criteria for investment in the Innovation Index, Global Innovation Index, Turkey will hopefully rank even further, because we have prepared a roadmap for that. Also, the institutions that report to the presidency directly have completed many reports, and we have also announced them. One of the Republican symbols, Republican period symbols in Istanbul, the Çamlıca Mosque, was inaugurated on the 7th of March 2019. Within this complex, also we have this national library that hosts millions of books. This is the largest cultural complex in Turkey, the nation's library within the presidential complex, inaugurated on the 20th of February 2020.
Yerli yabancı gelen tüm misafirlerimizin gerçekten hayran kaldığı bu millet kütüphanemizde bizler de iftihar ediyoruz. Hizmet binalarımız yanında camimiz, kültür ve kongre merkezimiz, sergi salonumuz ve kütüphanemiz ile Cumhurbaşkanlığı Külliyesi'nin medeniyetimize layık bir eser haline gelmesini sağladığımıza inanıyoruz. İnşallah şimdi bir de İstanbul'umuzu, Rami Kışlası'nı aynen bir millet kütüphanesine dönüştürüyoruz. Onun da çalışmaları devam ediyor. Ayrıca Türkiye'nin dört bir yanında 38 millet kıraathanesini faaliyete geçirdik. Coğrafi bilgi sistemi kurulumuz vasıtasıyla milli coğrafi bilgi altyapımızı ferdi kullanıma açarak günlük hayatı kolaylaştırıyoruz. Vatandaşlarımız ulusal coğrafi bilgi platformu üzerinden edinecekleri mülkü ve çevresini inceleyebilecek, heyelan, sel ve deprem gibi afetlerde gerçek zamanlı bilgiye ulaşabilecektir. Bu sistem ayak bastığımız toprağın hangi tarım ürünü için elverişli olduğundan tarihi özelliklerine, yeşil alan ve donatı ihtiyaçlarına kadar tüm bilgileri kolaylıkla takip etme imkanı verecek. Aziz milletim, değerli misafirler, iktidarı devraldığımız günden bugüne eğitimden sağlığa, adaletten emniyete, enerjiden tarıma her alanda ülkemizi kalkındırarak gücüne güç kattık. Şimdi kısaca son 2 ayda yaptığımız hizmetleri ana hatlarıyla sizlerle paylaşmak istiyorum. Eğitimde 2023 Eğitim Vizyonu belgesini açıklayarak bu alanda varmak istediğimiz yeri, yol haritamızı, güzergahımızı kamuoyumuzla paylaştık. Yapay zeka ve makine öğrenmesi temelli dijital altyapıyı kurarak pilot uygulamasını gerçekleştirdik. Yaygınlaştırma aşamasını başlattık. Son 2 yılda ilk ve orta öğretimde 2805 yeni okul, 15.000 yeni derslik inşa ettik. 87.681 öğretmen ataması yaptık. Daha öncekilere ilave olarak 17 bilim ve sanat merkezi, 1913 laboratuvar, 1034 kütüphane, 634 Z kütüphane adını verdiğimiz dijital kütüphane açtık. 2018 yılında ek ders ücretiyle birlikte bir öğretmenin eline aylık, değerli arkadaşlar burası çok önemli çünkü bunların çok spekülasyonu yapılıyor, 4153 lira geçerken bir öğretmenin eline bu rakam %25'lik artışla 5177 liraya ulaşmıştır. Daha önce 2+2 olmak üzere 6 yıl zorunlu hizmet süresiyle çalışan sözleşmeli statüdeki öğretmenlerimizin hizmet yılını 3+1 olmak üzere 4 yıla indirdi. Özel eğitimde erken çocukluk döneminde ihtiyaç olan anaokulu sayısını sadece son bir yılda %94 oranında artırdık. Orta ağır düzey engelli öğrencilerin temel yaşam becerileri kazandıkları 175 uygulama evini tamamlayarak bunları da hizmete sunduk. Rehberlik ve araştırma merkezlerinin fiziki kapasitesini Türkiye genelinde standart hale getiriyoruz. Ülkemizin rekabet gücü yüksek savunma sanayi sektörüne ara eleman yetiştirmeye yönelik ilk adım olarak Aselsan üretim tesislerinde savunma sanayi lisesi açtık. Patenti Türkiye'dedir diyebilmek için okullarımızda patent, faydalı model ve tasarım odaklı eğitimin kapılarını araladık. Turizm sektörünün nitelikli eleman ihtiyacını karşılamak üzere turizm ve otelcilik alanında eğitim veren 11 yeni meslek lisesini hizmete sunduk. İlkokuldan başlayarak eğitimin tüm kademelerinde 6507 adet tasarım beceri atölyesini 11 farklı model ile kurduk. Salgın döneminde hem evlatlarımızın hem aile büyüklerinin sağlığını korumak için EBA adını verdiğimiz eğitim bilişim ağı sistemini hızla hayata geçirdik. Uzaktan eğitimde aktif kullanılan EBA sistemi 3,1 milyar tıklanma sayısıyla Türkiye'de en çok ziyaret edilen 10. internet sitesi, dünyada ise 3. eğitim sitesi oldu. TRT EBA'da yapılan 2516 saat yayın üzerinden de 7,4 milyon öğrenci ve 1 milyondan fazla öğretmen sistemi aktif olarak kullandı. Mesleki eğitim kurumlarımızın koronavirüs ile mücadele günlerinde ülkemize 2 aşamalı ilave katkısı oldu. Birinci aşama, ihtiyaç duyulan maske, dezenfektan, yüz koruyucu siper, tek kullanımlık önlük ve tulum gibi malzemelerin üretiminde bu kurumlarımızda görev aldı. İkinci aşama ise salgınla mücadelede ihtiyaç duyulan solunum cihazı ve maske makinesi gibi cihazların tasarlanması ve üretimi konusunda da yine mesleki eğitim kurumlarımız sorumluluk üstlendi. Altyapısı güçlü illerimizde bulunan mesleki ve teknik Anadolu liselerimiz bünyesindeki araştırma geliştirme merkezlerimizin kapasitelerini bu amaçla güçlendirdik. Özellikle Vefa projesinde 77 il ve 361 ilçede 1836 milli eğitim personelimiz görev alarak özverili bir çalışma sergiledi. Salgın tedbirleri nedeniyle evinden çıkamayan 65 yaş ve üzerindeki vatandaşlarımızın temel ihtiyaçlarının ve bakımlarının karşılanmasında eğitim ordumuzda görev aldı. Türkiye Maarif Vakfı, ülkemizin yurt dışındaki en önemli temsilcilerinden biri haline gelmiştir. Vakfımız 43 ülkede, biri yükseköğretim kurumu, 9'u eğitim merkezi olmak üzere 332 eğitim kurumu, 42 yurt, 38.846 öğrenciyle eğitim faaliyetlerini sürdürüyor. Vakfın yurt dışı birimlerinde 405'i kendi vatandaşımız olmak üzere toplamda 7.337 personel istihdam ediliyor. Mevcut eğitim faaliyetleri haricinde vakfımızın 42 ülkede devralma ve yeni okul açma çalışmaları da devam ediyor. Özellikle ülkemizin ihtiyaç duyduğu nitelikli insan kaynağının artırılması amacıyla 2018-2020 yılları arasında 1746 öğrenci devlet bursu ile lisansüstü öğrenim görmek üzere yurt dışına gönderilmeye hak kazandı. Özellikle stratejik alanlarda öğrenim gören devlet burslusu öğrenci oranı %25'lerden %40'lara ulaştı. Gençlerimize kaliteli eğitim öğretim sunma yanında hayatın her alanında onları geliştirmeyi hedefliyoruz. Gençlik ve sporda geleceğimizin teminatı, gençlerimizin her alanda destekleyen politikaları ve yatırımları hayata geçiriyoruz. Bu çerçevede son 2 yılda yaklaşık 4,5 milyar liralık rakamla 979 yatırımı tamamladık. Türkiye'de 18 yıl önce sadece 9 adet olan gençlik merkezleri sayısını 338'e çıkardık. Üye olarak bu merkezlerden faydalanan gençlerimizin sayısı 2,5 milyona ulaştı. Son 2 yılda bu merkezlerde 5,5 milyonu aşkın gencimizin iştirak ettiği 400 bini aşkın faaliyet gerçekleştirdik. Ülke çapında sayıları 39'u bulan gençlik kamplarımızdan son 2 yılda 261.500 gencimiz faydalandı. Yüksek öğrenim yurtlarımızın sayısını 190'dan 795'e, kapasitesini 182.000'den 707.000'e çıkardık. Eskiden koğuş sistemiyle hizmet veren yurtlarımızı otel konforuyla donattık. Son 2 yılda toplamda 84.427 yatak kapasiteli 117 adet yüksek öğrenim yurdunu hizmete aldık. Yüksek öğrenim harçlarını kaldırırken devamlı gösteriler vesaire bunlar yapılıyordu, hatırlayın. Ve biz 18 yıl önce sadece 45 lira olan aylık burs kredi miktarını 2018 yılında 470 liraya, 2019 yılında 500 liraya, bu yıl ise 550 liraya yükselttik. Yüksek kapasiteli 39 modern stadyum inşası hedefinde 2 yıldaki 4 ilaveyle 26'ya ulaştık. Sporun tabana yayılması ve elit sporcu yetiştirilmesi için başlattığımız faaliyetlere son 2 yılda 10.500 gencimiz katıldı. Yine son 2 yılda lisanslı sporcu sayısındaki artış %21. Spor kulübü sayısındaki artış %16. Özel spor tesisleri sayısındaki artış %23 olarak gerçekleşti. 2018-2020 yılları arasında tüm yaş gruplarımızdaki milli sporcularımız katıldıkları uluslararası müsabakalarda 15.573 madalya kazandı. Hamdolsun. Nereden nereye? Bu dönemde 74 yeni gençlik ve spor tesisini de hizmete aldık. Sağlıkta tarihimizin en büyük reformuyla milletimize verdiğimiz hizmetlerin standardını dünya ortalamasının çok üzerine çıkardık. Sadece son 2 yılda toplamda 25.239 yatak kapasiteli 10 yeni şehir hastanemizi hizmete sunduk. Bunlar Kayseri, Elazığ, Manisa, Eskişehir, Ankara Bilkent, Bursa, Başakşehir, Çam ve Sakura, İstanbul Ok Meydanı Profesör Doktor Cemil Taşçıoğlu, Kartal Doktor Lütfü Kırdar ve Erzurum şehir hastaneleridir. Son 18 yılda hastane yatak kapasitemizi 164.000'den 246.000'e, nitelikli yatak kapasitemizi ise 19.000'den 148.000'in üzerine çıkardık. 378.000'den devraldığımız sağlık çalışanı sayımız bugün 1.101.000'i geçti. 58 adet olan MR sayımız 909 adede. 323 adet olan tomografi sayımız 1213 adede. 4.891 adet olan diyaliz cihazı sayımız 18.000 adete yükseldi. 112 acil sağlık istasyonu sayımız 481 adetten 2985 adede, 618 olan ambulans sayısını 5437 adede yükselttik. Hatırlayın o günleri. Ambulanstan başka her şeye benziyordu. Ben bizzat yaşadım. Ölüme gidiyorduk. Yani ambulansı asacak bir askılığı dahi yoktu. Ve yaralı olan arkadaşımız, şu anda milletvekilim, o ayakta, elinde yani zor tutuyor serum şişesini, devrilecek o halde. O şekilde Bolu'dan Düzce'ye kadar geldik. Hastaneye gittik. Sigortalı mısın? Emekli sandığı. Ya bu halde bu sorulur mu? Yapılması gereken neyse bunu yapman gerekir. Sigortalı. Burası sigortalı, kabul etmiyor dediler ve oradan bizi devlet hastanesine sevk ettiler. Bunları yaşadık biz. Onun için de gelince kapıya geleni geriden çevirmeyeceğiz. Çevirmeyeceksiniz diyor. Hamdolsun şimdi dönem böyle. Evde sağlık hizmetlerinden toplam 1.606.000 vatandaşımız faydalanıyor. Artık eve geliyor. Ayrıca koronavirüs ile daha etkili mücadele için 1005'er yatak kapasiteli Yeşilköy Profesör Doktor Murat Dilmener ve Sancaktepe Profesör Doktor Feriha Öz acil durum hastanelerini de devreye soktuk. Bunların her biri 1008'er yataklı. Ama bir özellikleri daha var. Yeşilköy'de havaalanına uçak iniyor. Aynı şekilde Sancaktepe'ye uçak iniyor. Yürüme mesafesinde inip hemen hastaneye, acil duruma gelebiliyorsunuz. Böyle bir durum. Bu tabii ne düşünerek bunu böyle yaptık? İstedik ki buralara icabında sağlık turizminde gelenler rahatlıkla gelsin. Geldiği zaman da buradan hemen ambulans alsın, direkt hastaneye götürsün. Tedavisini olsun, ondan sonra da ambulans uçakla hangi ülkeden geldiyse o ülkeye gitsin. Veya ülke içindeyse ülke içinde gideceği yere gitsin. Ulusal anlamda, uluslararası anlamda Türkiye bunu yakaladı. Bunu görsünler. Aynı şekilde biliyorsunuz Şam ve Sakura Hastanesi de bu özelliklere sahip. O da bu denli güzel. Zaten helikopterler hemen onun tepesine rahatlıkla inebiliyor. Orada heliportu var ve oradan tedavisini olup ondan sonra ister İGA'ya gitsin, ister diğer tarafa geçsin. Bütün bunlarla sağlık turizmindeki adımımızı da atıyoruz. Ülkemize giriş ve çıkışlardaki sağlık kontrolleri için 8 sınır kapımızda Sahra Hastanesi kurduk. Bugüne kadar 136 ülke ve 4 uluslararası kuruluşun sağlık malzemesi desteği talebini karşıladık. Çeşitli sebeplerle geçici olarak yurt dışında bulunan 138 ülkedeki 90.000'den fazla vatandaşımızı kurduğumuz hava, kara ve deniz köprüleriyle ülkemize getirdik. Bu vatandaşlarımızın sağlık kontrollerini yaparak, karantina süreçlerini takip ederek, gerektiğinde hastanelerde tedavilerini yürüterek sağ salim ailelerine kavuşmalarını sağladık. Salgın döneminde tüm sağlık hizmetlerinin kesintisiz ve en iyi şekilde verilmesini temin ettik. Adalet mekanizmasına gelince, adalette milletimizin hak ve hukuk arayışına cevap verecek pek çok reformu hayata geçirdik. 2002 yılından bu yana hakim, savcı ve personel sayısını %177 oranında artırarak yargıda insan kaynakları kapasitesini güçlendirdik. Son 2 yılda 5344'ü hakim ve savcı olmak üzere adalet hizmetlerinde görev yapmak üzere 24.064 yeni personel alımı yaptık. Hatırlayın, geçmişte Adalet Sarayı diye bir şey yoktu. Maalesef merdiven altı hizmet diyebileceğimiz durumda adalet hizmetleri dağıtılıyordu. Ve biz ne yaptık? Adalet saraylarını getirdik. Ve bu adalet saraylarını yapmak suretiyle de artık hakimlerimiz, savcılarımız çok daha rahat hizmet verir hale, çok daha huzurlu hizmet verir hale geldiler. Geçtiğimiz 18 yılda ilk derece mahkeme sayısını adli yargıda %76, idari yargıda %32 artırarak mahkemelerin yükünü azaltmıştık. Son 2 yılda 554 yeni mahkemeyi daha hizmete aldık. Adli yargı istinaf mahkemelerini ilk olarak 7 yerde faaliyete geçirdik. Sonra bu sayıyı 15'e çıkardık. İdari yargı istinaf mahkemelerini de 2016 yılında yine 7 bölgede faaliyete geçirmiştik. Bu sayıyı 8'e çıkardık. Böylece istinaf mahkemelerini güçlendirerek yüksek mahkemelerin iş yükünü azaltmanın yanında uyuşmazlıkların daha etkin ve hızlı şekilde çözülmesini de sağladık. Son 18 yılda yaptığımız 269 adet adalet hizmet binasının 38'ini son 2 yılda inşa ettik. Vatandaşlarımızın haklarına daha zahmetsiz ve az masrafla kavuşabilmesi için iş uyuşmazlıklarında arabuluculuğu zorunlu hale getirdik. Son 2 yılda arabulucuya giden dosyaların %63'ü başarıyla sonuçlandı. 2019 yılında kanunlaşan 1. yargı paketi ile temel hak ve özgürlüklerin korunması ve ifade özgürlüğünün güçlendirilmesi amacıyla istinafta kesinleşen bazı suçlarda temiz yolunu açtık. Hakim ve savcı adaylığı mülakat kurulunun üye sayısını 5'ten 7'ye çıkararak daha geniş tabanlı bir yapıya kavuşturduk. İnfaz düzenlemesiyle hem adaletin tecellisini hem de hükümlülerin topluma kazandırılmasını gözeten yeni bir sisteme geçtik. 15 yıl kıdemi bulunan avukatların yeşil pasaport alabilmesini biz sağladık. Çoklu baro düzenlemesini de içeren ve avukatların kılık kıyafetten baro keseneğine kadar pek çok haklarını hukuki güvence altına alan bir düzenlemeyi de geçtiğimiz hafta hayata geçirdik. Aziz milletim, değerli misafirler, ülkemizi sınırlarımızın içinden ve dışından gelecek her türlü tehdide karşı korumak, vatandaşlarımızı bu cennet vatanda
Protecting our citizens in our homeland, making sure that they live in peace and prosperity is the prerequisite of being a state. That's why counterterrorism is of tremendous importance for us, and we always focus on these issues. In terms of internal affairs, in the last 2 years, we have clamped down our attacks on terrorist organizations, and regarding the separatist terrorist organization PKK, we instigated more than 234,000 operations both inside and outside Turkey. And in these operations, 950 terrorists were neutralized, and 600 terrorists surrendered. 2,450 terrorists were as such neutralized. Again,
ikna çalışmalarıyla
we were able to convince 530 terrorists and save them from the claw of the terrorist organization. Right now, PKK-affiliated terrorists in Turkey are around 400. In the last 2 years, we precluded 400 attacks from happening, and after the 15th of July coup, one of the biggest treasons against our state was the FETÖ organization, and 17,000 operations were actually implemented in order to fight against this heinous terrorist organization. Now, we know that FETÖ infiltrated into bureaucracy and into the world of business, and we did away with these infiltrations, and we continue to do so. Regarding Daesh and Al-Qaeda inside Turkey, 2,600 operations were initiated, and 635 terrorists were neutralized, and 5 attacks were prevented. Thankfully, since the beginning of 2017 in Turkey, no attack was instigated by Daesh. In our fight against narcotics in the last 2 years, 364,000 operations were carried out all across the nation, and we did our best to protect our citizens and our youngsters. Especially, we did our best to stop the operations of drug traffickers. We also attach great importance to irregular immigration. Repatriation centers capacity was increased. Right now we have a capacity of 20,000 people, and the number of these centers is 28 right now. And we also made sure that almost 500,000 Syrians went voluntarily to places where they fled in the past. And we keep a close eye on asylum seekers and refugees in Turkey. In national defense, in order to ensure the security of our state, our armed forces are working day and night, and we have been doing our best to strengthen their position. In addition to the Shield of Euphrates, Olive Branch, Claw, Peace Spring, and Spring Shield operations were initiated across the border from Turkey, and we prevented the terror corridor that some quarters were trying to achieve. As for terrorists that infiltrate from the Iraqi border, again, we created and continue to create safe zones across the border, and as such, we will be minimizing the terrorism threat that has been coming in the way of Turkey. And also in Libya, we have been supporting the legitimate government, the government of national accord, and we have helped national efforts to make sure that coup implementers were thwarted in Libya. In the last couple of months, certain developments have taken place. We have been keeping a close eye on these developments, and no one should rejoice, and no one should get the wrong idea. We will never let this happen in Libya. Our heroic armed forces from Afghanistan to Kosovo, from Somalia to Qatar, have been active in many places across the world as guarantors of peace and stability. We have cleansed the armed forces of the FETÖ terrorist organization, and as such, our army is at service of this nation, and they're engaged in a historic battle. Our heroic servicemen, with great courage and with great self-sacrifice, have been engaged in several efforts across the world, and as such, we have a better optimism about our future. In defense industry, we have reduced Turkey's dependence on other countries from 70% all the way down to 30%, and in 2002, $5.5 billion was the total budget of 62 projects. Right now we're talking about $60 billion, and we have 700 projects under our belt. In the same period, in the defense industry, number of companies operating in this area increased to 1,500 from 64. The turnover from $1 billion shot up to $11 billion. This picture has also had an impact on our export. 18 years ago, Turkey had 248 million in aviation and defense, and right now this has surpassed $3 billion in export, and 5 of our companies are amongst the largest defense companies in the world, and that's a testament to the progress that we have achieved in the last 2 years only. The Akıncı and Aksungur drones and local helicopter Gökbey achieved their first flight. The national engine for drone PD-170 also achieved its first flight thanks to Ankara. It's an autonomous project, and we have initiated this project, and this has been a great step for us. We also have another project called Kerkes, and for our security units, 21 attack and tactics reconnaissance helicopters were purchased, and for our certain organizations, 15 Anka drones and 58 Bayraktar TB2 drones were purchased. 206 kamikaze mini drones were also procured. Of course, in the past, I'm not going to name names, but certain countries would give these to us, and for maintenance we would always have to deal with them, and we would run into problems in this regard. They would always postpone our requests, but right now we don't have any such worries, because if something goes wrong, if there is need for repair and maintenance, these are national companies that can intervene immediately and that can ensure maintenance, and as such, we can start using these devices without any delay. With its portable features in land and on the sea and up in the air, the Sungur air defense system is ready to be added to our inventory. Göktürk Reconnaissance Exploration Satellite project is going to be accepted into the orbit. Tests have been completed with great success. Hisar A is about to be added to the inventory. Atmaca missile is being tested. We are nearing the completion. Regarding the Korkut project, the first systems actually have been added to the inventory. Now, these are 4 different important realms, and 4 command control devices will help us use smart ammunition thanks to the 13 systems that have been handed over to our armed forces. Bora missiles are being procured as we speak, and also the aircraft bombs will also be made possible thanks to these national kits, and like I said, we are in the procurement process for these. High missile tanks UMTAZ and LUMTAZ will also be delivered shortly. Now, the serial production agreement was signed for the Altay tank, and with our national, thanks to our national efforts, we created a working group. And one of the most important strengths of our armed forces is M60 tanks. 190 tanks have already been modernized. In addition to that, within the project, Pulat active protection system and qualification activities have been completed. And Turkey is also quite advanced in armored vehicles. 1,800 of these have been procured to the relevant organizations. Multipurpose amphibian vessel Anadolu is now out there in the seas. That is to say, it is not fully operational right now, but we have an aircraft vessel right now in Turkey. But we need to take this to the next level, and we are in talks to make sure that is possible. Hopefully we will have an aircraft vessel sooner than later. This is how we're starting on this path. It's out there in the seas, like I said, and one or two more will be procured in the near future. Milgem corvettes, the third vessel is in Burgazada, the fourth is in Kınalıada. They have been also handed over to the armed forces. They look quite nice, as you see on the screen. They navigate quite well out there in the seas. Now, this project, the fifth vessel is being built as we speak, and new type submarine project is another project of ours. Our first submarine Piri race is now ready to be deployed, and testing and training vessel Ufuk is also going to be built, and our warfare vessels, for our warfare vessels, we have a floating pool in March in Izmir, in the Izmir dockyard. We also handed this over, as you see. This will also be completed. This is no joke. We are quite determined. Regarding F-16 aircraft, we have a new reconnaissance system that has been integrated to our F-16s. Ulak National Base Stations have been installed at 1,000 locations, and Machinery Chemistry Institution has been supporting local production of machinery. In Kırıkkale, 3 million surgical masks are manufactured thanks to these efforts. In transportation, one of the largest, some of the largest infrastructure projects have been implemented, and we continue to do so. Within this framework, the first stage of the Istanbul Airport was completed, that can host 90 million passengers per year, and our airport was operationalized, and once all the stages are completed, the passenger capacity will increase all the way up to 200 million passengers. And this airport has created 250,000 jobs, and more than 300 flight lines. It has become a source of pride for Turkey and for our nation. Despite the pandemic, since its inauguration, both for domestic flights and international flights, 65 million passengers actually came and went from our airport. In addition to the 30 new airports that we have built, now on the sea, the Giresun airport is being built on the sea, and this is yet another airport that will be built on the sea. Rize Artvin airport. Again, this is being constructed as we speak, and it is nearing completion. There's another one in Yozgat, and yet another one in Bayburt, Gümüşhane. These airports are also being constructed as we speak. 25 million tons of load processing capacity is the capacity of Filos port, and we will complete it this year. Kanal Istanbul preliminary studies have been completed, and our ministries have been consulted, and similarly, within our group, we have had our talks, and this channel, Kanal Istanbul, will be built thanks to the coordination between all the relevant authorities. And yes, there's a great demand for this project. And inshallah, Kanal Istanbul project will be a model for the entire world. And it will be the apple of the eye of Turkey as well as the entire world, and the Black Sea will be connected to the Marmara Sea, and as such, this project will add to the attraction of not just Istanbul and Turkey, but to the entire region. And just like our Istanbul Airport has a place of pride on a global scale, this channel will also achieve the same. This will bring about great advantages for traffic in Istanbul, just like the Gebze-Halkalı rail system that encompasses Marmaray as well. There will be metro and fast train lines, as well as another line for load transportation from Peking to London, from Shanghai to London. This line is now uninterrupted. Gayrettepe Airport metro construction is underway. Tunnels have been drilled, and 9 stations will be built, fully automated, followed by driverless trains will achieve 120 kilometers per hour of speed. And Halkalı Istanbul Airport railway connection project is also underway. And similarly, the Northern Marmara Highway is being operationalized with its connection roads. We're talking about almost 400,000 kilometers of highway, and by the end of this year, this project will also be completed. In the last 2 years, we have operationalized also the Istanbul-İzmir highway, and we reduced the distance between the two cities all the way down to 3.5 hours. Menemen-Ali Ağa Çandarlı highway was also completed, and this was also a great achievement. And another important passage point, 1915, Chanakale Bridge, the groundbreaking ceremony took place on the 18th of March 2018. The construction is underway, like I said, and yet another important project is the Gümüşhane Highway project, and 16.8 million kilometers will be the total length, and 9 tunnels have already been operationalized as part of this project. Now, we showed you the Chanakale Bridge. How do you like it? This is truly magnificent. In the last couple of weeks, 450 meter length and 160 meter height, and this is quite significant as well. On the Botan River, the Beğendik Bridge was actually operationalized for the first time, and you see this on the screen right now. This used to be a place beset by terrorism, but now things have changed. Now that this bridge has been built, terrorists may not like this because they no longer have the area for maneuver. So counter-terrorism is not a unilateral effort. You need to assume an approach that encompasses many different perspectives. Botan was a hot spot for them, but Veysel Eroğlu, the Ilısu Dam, actually was another hot spot for them. It took time, but we were able to build that and thwart their efforts, and we were able to preserve the historical artifacts. We were able to bring them to other places. We were able to start a new city there. None of this is ordinary. We were able to do this, achieve this. But some people have eyes, they do not see. They have ears, they do not hear. They have mouths, but they do not speak the truth. But whether they speak the truth or not, we will stick to this path. We will always continue to do what is right.
İşte eser ortada. Avrupa ülkeleriyle yüksek standartlı demiryolu bağlantısını sağlayacak Halkalı Kapıkule demiryolu hattının Çerkezköy Kapıkule kesimi ile ilgili yapım sözleşmesi imzalandı. Proje tamamlandığında 229 kilometrelik uzunluğa sahip bu demir yolunda saatte 200 kilometrelik hızla seyahat edilebilecek. Yatırım tutadı 10,5 milyar lira olan projenin bitmesiyle Halkalı Kapıkule arası seyahat süresi 4 saatten 1 saat 20 dakikaya, yük taşıma süresi 6,5 saatten 2 saat 20 dakikaya düşecek. Artık zaman, özellikle zamanla yarışma zamanı. Ve eğer siz ekonomide fiyatları düşürecekseniz bunu başarmanız lazım. Maliyetleri düşürecekseniz önce bunu başarmanız lazım. İşte biz şimdi bunu başarıyoruz. Ankara Eskişehir, Ankara İstanbul, Ankara Konya yüksek hızlı tren hatlarımıza yolculuk süresini 2 saate düşürecek Ankara Sivas hattını da ne yapıyoruz? Bu arada ilave ediyoruz. Test sürüşleri devam eden bu hattın ilk kesimini yıl sonuna kadar milletimizin istifadesine sunmayı planlıyoruz. Ayrıca Ankara-İzmir yüksek hızlı tren hattı ile Konya, Karaman, Niğde, Mersin, Osmaniye, Gaziantep, Bursa, Bilecik hızlı tren hatları başta olmak üzere halen inşası süren 3500 kilometrelik raylı sistem projemizde var. Hedefimiz 5 yıl içerisinde toplamda 5500 kilometre yüksek hızlı ve hızlı tren hattına ulaşmaktır. Dünyanın en güzel ilk 4 tren rotasından biri olarak kabul edilen Ankara-Kars arasındaki turistik Doğu Ekspresi'ni turizme açtık. Modernize edilmek üzere ulaşıma kapatılan Samsun-Sivas demiryolunda da ticari deneme seferleri başladı. Dış ticarette talebin arttığı Bakü-Tiflis-Kars demiryolu hattına ilave 3500 ton kapasite artışı sağlayacak konteyner aktarma sistemini de kurduk. Raylı sistem araçlarının yerli imkanlarla üretilebilmesi için Türkiye Raylı Sistem Araçları Sanayi Anonim Şirketi'ni de kurduk. Güzel değil mi? Yani söylemesek alkışlamayacaksınız. Milli elektrikli trenin fabrika testlerini de başlattık. Van Gölü'nde Ocak 2018'de faaliyete başlayan Sultan Alparslan feribotunun ardından İdrisi-Bitlisi feribotunu da tamamlayarak hizmete sunduk. Ulusal Siber Olaylara Müdahale Merkezi ÜSOM'u hizmete sunduk. Türkiye'nin uydu haberleşme alanındaki kapasitesini artırmak, yörünge haklarını korumak ve daha geniş kapsama alanlarına sahip olmak için başlattığımız 3 yeni uydu projesinde sona yaklaşıyoruz. Özellikle de Aralık 2019'da ilk enerji beslemesi yapılarak üretimi tamamlanan TürkSat 5A uydusunda son testler devam ediyor. Uydu bu yılın 3. çeyreğinde yerde teslim alınacak ve 4. çeyrekte uzaya fırlatılacak. Haberleşme ve servis modülü entegrasyon faaliyetleri tamamlanan TürkSat 5B uydusu ise 2021 yılının 2. çeyreğinde uzaya gönderilecek. Ülkemizin haberleşme uydusu üretebilen 10 ülke arasında yer almasını sağlayacak yerli haberleşme uydusu TürkSat 6A'yı ise 2022 yılında uzaya fırlatmayı planlıyoruz. İstanbul'un sembollerinden biri olacağına inandığım Çamlıca Televizyon Radyo Kulesi'nin yapımı devam ediyor. Çok az bir şey kaldı ve inşallah çok kısa bir zamanda, tabii televizyondan çok burası radyo alıcı verici özelliğe sahip olacak ve 104 frekans burada hizmet inşallah görecek ve Çamlıca Camii'nin çevresindeki bütün oradaki kuleleri kaldırıyoruz ve hepsini de buraya inşallah monte ediyoruz. Aile, çalışma ve sosyal hizmetler son 2 yılda da en yoğun çalıştığımız, en çok icraatı gerçekleştirdiğimiz alanların başında geliyor. Sosyal yardımlarda kurumsal ve yapısal değişikliklere giderek 2002 yılında 4 olan sosyal yardım programı sayısını 43'e çıkardık. İhtiyaç sahiplerine bütçeden ayrılan kaynağı da 2 milyar liradan 55 milyar liraya yükselttik. Son 18 yılda yaptığımız sosyal yardım tutarı toplamda 356 milyar lirayı buldu. Salgın döneminde sosyal koruma kalkanı çatısı altında vatandaşlarımıza 25,5 milyar lira nakit ödeme yaptık. Sadece kısa çalışma ödeneği kapsamında çok büyük bir bölümü de salgın döneminde olmak üzere 3,7 milyon kişi için 14 milyar liranın üzerinde kaynak kullandık. Ücretsiz izne çıkartılan veya işini kaybeden 1,7 milyon vatandaşımıza yaptığımız ödeme tutarı da 2,8 milyar lirayı buldu. Son 2 yılda 1 milyon 650 bin iş yeri ve 10 milyon 680 bin sigortalımız için 79,7 milyar lira tutarında destek verdik. Aktif iş gücü programlarımızla son 2 yılda toplam 980 bin kişi için 4,1 milyar liralık kaynak kullandık. İşsizlik ödeneğinden son 2 yılda 1,8 milyon vatandaşımıza toplam 14,7 milyar lira tutarında ödeme yaptık. Ortalama 1,6 milyon iş yeri için toplamda 19,7 milyar lira tutarında asgari ücret desteği verdik. 2019 yılında hayata geçirdiğimiz sosyal çalışma programı kapsamında 20.351 üniversite öğrencimizi ilk kez iş gücü piyasasıyla tanıştırdık. Çalışanlarımızın haklarını koruma esasına dayanan gayretlerimizle memur ve işçi sendikalaşma oranı %22 seviyesine yükselmiştir. Asgari ücret tespit komisyonunda yıllar sonra ilk defa geçtiğimiz yıl oy birliğiyle asgari ücret kabul edildi. Asgari ücrette 2018-2020 yılları arasında %45 oranında artış sağladık. 2002 yılında 184 lira olan, burası çok önemli değerli arkadaşlar, 2002 yılında 184 lira olan net asgari ücreti bugün itibariyle 2324 liraya biz çıkarttık. Bu ne demektir? Reel asgari ücreti %134 artırmış olduk. Böylece asgari ücretin satın alma gücü paritesine göre sıralamasında Avrupa Birliği üye ve aday ülkeleri arasında 13. sıradan 8. sıraya yükseldik. İstihdama katılım oranının son 15 yılda %45'ten %53 düzeyine yükselmesi ülkemizdeki istihdam piyasasının canlılığına işaret ediyor. Son 2 yılda İşkur kanalıyla 2,5 milyona aşkın vatandaşımızı işe yerleştirdik. Hükümetlerimiz döneminde istihdamı artırmak için 18 ayrı sigorta primi teşviki, desteği ve indirimi uygulayarak çalışanlarımıza ve işverenlerimize 213 milyar lira devlet katkısı sağladık. Yürüttüğümüz etkin mücadeleyle kayıt dışı istihdamı 23 puan düşürdük. Kayıt dışı istihdamın 1 puan düşürülmesi ülke ekonomisine yılda yaklaşık 3,7 milyar lira katkıda bulunuyor. Emeklilerimiz hep olduğu gibi son 2 yılda da en çok desteklediğimiz kesim olarak bütün bu kesimlerin başında geliyor. Geçtiğimiz yılın Ocak ayında en düşük emekli aylığını 1.000 lira olarak belirledik. Bu yılın Nisan ayında bu tutarı 1.500 liraya yükselttik. Emeklilerimize 2018 yılında 1.000 lira bayram ikramiyesi ödemesine başladık. Bugüne kadar geride bıraktığımız 5 Ramazan ve Kurban Bayramı'nda emeklilerimize toplam 53,2 milyar lira ikramiye ödemesi gerçekleştirdik. Muhtarlarımızın sigorta primleri 2017'den bu yana devlet tarafından ödeniyor. Geçtiğimiz yıl muhtarlarımızın sosyal güvenliğe ilişkin tüm bildirimlerini elektronik ortama taşıdık. Son 2 yılda geri ödeme kapsamına alınan ilaç sayısı 1015'tir. Sosyal hizmet merkezlerimizin sayısını son 2 yılda 46 ilave ile 344'e çıkardık. Yine 60'ı son 2 yılda olmak üzere toplam 240 aile destek merkezi milletimizin hizmetine sunuldu. Aile sosyal destek programımız ile 2020 Haziran ayı itibariyle 2 milyonun üzerinde hanede 5,2 milyon vatandaşımızla görüşme gerçekleştirdik. Aile eğitim programı ve evlilik öncesi eğitim programı eğitimleriyle son 2 yılda toplam 1.132.000 kişiye ulaştık. Son 2 yıldaki 8 ilaveyle toplamda 32'ye çıkan sosyal dayanışma merkezlerimiz vasıtasıyla kadınlarımızı çok yönlü olarak destekliyoruz. Her alanda kadınlarımızın yanında olma anlayışıyla 81 ilimizde kadın kooperatifçiliği çalışma grubu oluşturduk. Türkiye Büyük Millet Meclisi'nde kadın milletvekillerimizin 2002 yılında %4,4 olan oranı 2020 yılında %17,45'e çıkardık. Şiddete karşı sıfır tolerans ilkesiyle çalışıyoruz. Artık 81 ilimizin tamamında var olan şiddet önleme ve izleme merkezlerimizde son 2 yılda 303 bini kadın, 21 bini erkek, 35 bini çocuk olmak üzere toplam 360 bin kişiye hizmet verilmiştir. Kadına yönelik şiddetle mücadele kapsamında son 2 yılda 1 milyonun üzerinde kişiye eğitim ve seminerler verildi. Kadın konuk evi sayısını da 8'den 145'e çıkartarak 320.500 kişiye hizmet verebilir hale geldik. Biz bize yeteriz kampanyamızla vatandaşlarımızdan 2 milyar liraya aşan bir destek sağladık. Son 2 yılda yaklaşık 3,9 milyon aileye 3,5 milyon ton ısınma amaçlı kömür yardımı yaptık. Başımızın tacı olan yaşlılarımıza yönelik hizmetlerin hem çeşidini artırıyor hem kapsamını genişletiyoruz. Bu amaçla 2019 yılını yaşlı yılı ilan ettik. Ülkemizde daha önce 63'ü kamuya, 22'si özel sektöre ait 85 huzur evinde 6.732 yaşlıya hizmet verilebiliyordu. Son 2 yılda açılan 8 huzur eviyle birlikte bugün 179'u kamuya, 248'i özel sektöre ait toplam 427 huzur evinde 27 bini aşkın yaşlımız hizmet almaktadır. Salgın süresince dünyadaki yaşlı bakım kuruluşlarında ölüm düzeyi %30 ila 80 arasında seyrederken ülkemizde bu oran %4'te kalmıştır. Bir diğer önemli hizmetimiz olan engellilere yönelik evde bakım uygulamasında da 535 bin vatandaşımız yararlanıyor. Son 2 yılda engellilerin evde bakımı için 17 milyar lira ödeme yaptık. Engelli memur sayımızı yaklaşık 10 katlık artışla 5.777'den 57.408'e yükselttik. Son 2 yılda 3.507 engellimiz aday memur olarak kamuya yerleştirildi. Milletimizin 15 Temmuz şehitlerimizin yakınları ve gazilerimiz için verdiği yardımların etkin şekilde kullanımı amacıyla Türkiye Şehit Yakınları ve Gaziler Dayanışma Vakfı'nı kurduk. Salgınla mücadele döneminde bu vakıf kaynaklarından her ay şehit yakınlarımıza ve gazilerimize 1000'er lira nakdi destek sağladık. Çevre ve şehircilik her dönemde en çok hizmet gerçekleştirdiğimiz alanlardan biridir. Bu kapsamda son 2 yılda 23 millet bahçemizi vatandaşlarımızın hizmetine sunduk. Halen 72 ilimizde 208 millet bahçesi için yaklaşık 45 milyon metrekare alanda çalışmalarımız sürüyor. Hedefimiz 2023'e kadar tüm illerimizde en az bir adet millet bahçesi yaparak 81 milyon metrekareye ulaşmaktır. Afet riski altındaki yapı ve alanların dönüşümü hayati önemde gördüğümüz çalışmalarımızdan biridir. Tehlike düzeyi yüksek alanlara öncelik vererek 81 ilimizde 259 adet riskli alan ile yeni yerleşim alanı olarak kullanılmak üzere 61 ilimizde rezerv yapı alanları belirledik. Can güvenliği tehlikesi olduğunu belirlediğimiz 1.394.000 bağımsız birimde ikamet eden 5 milyon vatandaşımıza dönüşüm çalışmaları için 14,7 milyar lira destek sağladık. Onun için vatandaşlarımıza diyorum ki bizi zora sokmayın. Gelin Çevre Şehircilik Bakanlığımız bir yeri riskli alan olarak ilan ediyorsa bize yardımcı olun ve biz buralarda süratle inşaatlarımızı yapalım ve sizler de buralara yerleşme imkanını bulun. Ülkemiz genelinde 658 bin adet bağımsız bölüm riskli yapı statüsünde şu anda yenileniyor. Sanayi alanlarının taşınması ve dönüşümü için de son 2 yılda projelendirdiğimiz 10.000 iş yerinden 1420 adedini tamamladık. 3422 adedinin yapımı sürüyor. Geçtiğimiz yıl 150.000 konutluk 2 ayrı sosyal konut kampanyası başlattık. Mart ayında düzenlediğimiz ilk kampanyayla 67 ilde 140 projede 50.000 sosyal konutun kura çekimleri tamamlandı. Hak sahipleri de belirlendi. Bunlardan 45.000 konutun ihalesi yapıldı. 7.679 konutun proje çalışmaları devam ediyor. Aralık 2019 tarihinde başlattığımız ikinci kampanyayla 81 ilde ve 100.000 konutun yapılmasını planladık. Bu kampanyanın ihale ve proje çalışması sürüyor. Elazığ ve Malatya'da etkili olan 24 Ocak'taki depremin ardından süratle depremzedelerin yaralarını sardık, mağduriyetlerini giderdik. Deprem konutlarının bir kısmını tamamladık. Diğerleriyle ilgili çalışmalar hızla sürüyor. Geçtiğimiz yıl Trabzon, Araklı, Bolu, Bursa'da, bu yıl Rize ve Artvin'de meydana gelen sel felaketlerinin ardından da afetzedelerin yaralarını hızla sardık. Doğal afetlere karşı etkin ve hızlı çözüm üretme hususunda hamdolsun ciddi mesafeler kat ettik. 2018 yılında uygulamaya aldığımız imar barışıyla vatandaşlarımızı
Thanks to this reconciliation, we were able to achieve peace in terms of this, and thanks to our zero waste policy, 44,000 organizations and institutions moved onto a zero waste policy in order to prevent pollution of the environment. Plastic bags have been made, are now sold at a price, and 140 bags per person was reduced to 110 plastic bags per person as a result. All across the nation, 1,117 treatment facilities now work to treat sewage water. In the last 2 years, number of sewage facilities was increased and now cover 87% of the overall population of our country. In terms of forestry and agriculture, we have also made strides. We have made sure that Turkey is self-sufficient, but above and beyond that, Turkey has become a significant exporter. We continue to work to this end. In the last 2 years, total agricultural throughput was increased by 8 billion tons, and now it is more than 100 billion tons. And we have operationalized several projects, and we have implemented many projects, and our agricultural output increased by 45%. Our agricultural export in the last 2 years increased by $1 billion, now stands at $18 billion, and the support that we have given to our agriculture, to our farmers, was also increased. In 2018, it was 14.5 billion. In 2019, it stood at 16.1 billion. In 2020, 22 billion. And in contracted agricultural production, the digital agricultural market project was also operationalized. And for geographical appellation, right now, 12 organizations have been certified, and regarding treasure land, we have done our best to also add them to our inventory, and we have given grants, seeds as grants, and certified seed production was increased by 7%, now stands at 1,130,000 tons. And in terms of national production, we created a mobilization for heirloom seeds, and animal husbandry support now stands at 6.6 billion lira in the last 2 years as well. To this end, 13 billion was paid in incentives. As such, large animals was increased by 4%, and now the number is 17 million. Small animals increased by 5%, 48.5 million is the overall population. Dairy production increased by 4%, 23 million tons. Red meat production increased by 7%, 1.2 billion tons. In terms of fisheries, we also did our best to protect the rights of our fishermen. We changed the legislation for fisheries, and we prevented illegal fishing. The production increased by 33%, and by 2023, we are hoping to reach 1 billion in export. Actually, we achieved this in 2019. Making sure that our citizens have access to safe food products, we increased number of inspection by 8%, and also we initiated rural development plans. 1.6 billion lira in grants were given to these projects. Agricultural specialization, organized zones, the number of these zones was increased to 41 from 23. In terms of geothermal based production, in Izmir, in Dikili, actually this project was initiated in the last 2 years. 404 hectares of land, 600 saplings were planted as part of this effort. In our campaign entitled Breath for the Future, we planted a vast number of saplings and trees, and we also increased our capacity to combat forest fires. In order to monitor such fires, we started using drones, and this year amphibious aircraft were operationalized that can carry 3 times as much water. Protected areas. In the last 2 years, 47 new sites have been added to this list. In the last 2 years as well, 48 dams, 45 lakes, and new dams were also projected and completed. In terms of storage capacity, the largest third dam in Turkey, Professor Veysel Eroğlu Ilısu Dam hydroelectric power plant, electricity generation was also started. With these facilities that we built, 159,000 hectares of area or land is now irrigated, can now be irrigated. We also built sewage treatment systems as part of these efforts. In terms of development projects for agricultural land, 1.2 hectares of land was licensed, and also in Turkey, new agricultural land is one of our top priorities. We have initiated certain efforts to get this done and also provide irrigation. Also, in addition to all of these, in terms of treasury and fiscal affairs, we have done a lot. The executive presidential system enabled us to focus on our economy because we were targeted by foreign exchange attacks, and we were able to fight these effects, and we were able to increase the immunity of our economy in the face of global ups and downs. We are trying to prevent speculation and ill-intentioned efforts towards our economy. We focus on value-added employment and production. Our new economic model is based on this outlook. For the private industry, long-term, low-cost, sustainable financing models have been announced, and this is the direction that we are moving towards. Our midterm program has an all-encompassing approach, and we have structured this program to make sure that we tackle inflation, interest rates, and inflationary implications as well. And we have done our best to support our companies, and many of our companies offer 10% discounts to fight in our fight against inflation. Also, in the swap markets, we have taken certain measures to prevent ill-intentioned steps towards the Turkish lira. BIST Borsa Istanbul swap market now enables Turkish banks to trade FX amongst themselves without needing the intermediacy of foreign banks. The interest rates of the Turkish lira should be set not in other countries but in Turkey, and within the framework of BIST, we initiated an effort to make sure that this can be done. We have also offered financing support to many industries, and in order to reduce consumer costs in automobile, in furniture, in housing and white goods, we reduced VAT and also special consumption tax. Also, during the winter months, in order to prevent the fluctuations in fruit and vegetable prices, greenhouse financing package was launched in tandem with Ziraat Bank, and within 10 working days, VAT refunds 50% can now be achieved. So we have expedited this process as well, and value-added production is our model, like I said, and raw material material and intermediary goods production, machinery production, and agricultural land is covered by the 40 billion lira worth acceleration package. After the foreign exchange attacks, we did our best to normalize the markets, and we were able to weather the storm with great success. Within this period, central bank policy interest rate went to 25%, but now it has gone down to 8%. Market interest rates was 135%, and now we have reduced this all the way down to 8%. And similarly, internal loaning interest rate went from 25% to 9%. External loan interest rate went down from 7.5% to 4.45%. We also did our best to stop speculative attacks. Inflation had gone up to 25%, now it's down to single digits, and the lowest cost and highest term financing scheme have been ensured for our citizens to purchase houses or automobiles in all of these areas. As you know, we offer low-cost loans, and our citizens will, I'm sure, take this advantage. In June, we broke a record. More than 200,000 families actually became homeowners thanks to these schemes. And during the pandemic, 12.2 million citizens received 43 billion lira, and 1.3 million merchants and small business owners received 30 billion lira. 207,450 companies received 163 billion lira in financing as a result of our allocations.
Yerli sermayeli kredi derecelendirme şirketini faaliyete geçirdik. Yatırımları daha fazla desteklemek için Türkiye Kalkınma ve Yatırım Bankası'nı yeniden yapılandırdık. Yurt dışında yaşayan vatandaşlarımız için dövizli bireysel emeklilik sistemi uygulamasını başlattık. Vergi kayıp ve kaçağı ile kayıt dışıyla mücadele için Risk Analizi Genel Müdürlüğü kurduk. Mükelleflerin haklarına yönelik başvuruları değerlendirmek üzere de Mükellef Hakları Kurulu oluşturduk. Zor dönemde BIST'in vatandaşlarımıza verdiği güven ile borsadaki katılımcı sayısını yaklaşık 1,5 kat artırarak 1,5 milyonun üzerine çıkardık. 2018 yılında 85 milyar, 2019 yılında 60 milyar kredi kefalet desteğini hayata geçirdik. 2020 yılında kredi garanti kurumlarına aktarılabilecek kaynak tutarının üst sınırını 25 milyar liradan 50 milyar liraya çıkardık. Salgın sürecinde 29 milyar lira tutarında vergi ödemesiyle 40 milyar liralık Sosyal Güvenlik Kurumu Bağkur prim ödemesini erteledik, işverenlerimize nefes aldırdık. Ticarette ihracatımızı destekleyecek, ithalatı azaltacak, cari dengeyi açıktan fazlaya çevirecek bir stratejiyi hayata geçirdik. Bu kapsamda 2002 yılında 36 milyar dolar olan ihracatımızı 2019 yılında 5 katına çıkartarak 180,8 milyar dolara ulaştırdık. Son 2 yılda değer bazında toplam 346,4 milyar dolar ihracat gerçekleştirdik. Önceki 24 ay ile kıyaslandığında son 2 yılda ihracatımız toplamda %6,5 oranında artış göstermiştir. Aynı dönemde dış ticaret açığımız %53,7 oranında azalmış, ihracatın ithalatı karşılama oranı %84,1 seviyesine çıkmıştır. İhracata yönelik mevcut ve yeni destek paketleriyle ihracatçılarımıza son 2 yılda toplam 6,1 milyar lira destek sağladık. Türk Exim Bank bu dönemde 57,3 milyar doları kredi ve 32,9 milyar doları sigorta olmak üzere ihracatçılarımıza toplam 90,2 milyar dolar tutarında destek verdi. İhracatımızın daha geniş bir tabana yayılmasını sağlayabilmek amacıyla kadın ve genç girişimcileri harekete geçirmekten il bazlı potansiyel tespitine kadar pek çok projeyi hayata geçirdik. Potansiyel üretici, ihracatçı firmaların il bazında tespit etme projemizi 40 ilde tamamladık. Kalan 41 ilimizde de uyguluyoruz. Bu firmaları yeni ve sürekli ihracatçılar haline dönüştürmeyi hedefliyoruz. İhracatçılarımızın dünyanın her noktasında daha aktif ve görünür olmalarını sağlamak için son 2 yılda 11.655 iş insanımıza yeşil pasaport vererek pek çok ülkeye vizesiz seyahatin yolunu da açtık. Elektronik ticaret bilgi sistemi ve elektronik ticaret bilgi platformunu hizmete açarak ülkemizin ilk elektronik ticaret verilerini açıkladık. 2019 yılı itibariyle elektronik ticaret hacmi 136 milyar lira olarak gerçekleşmiştir. Esnaf ve sanatkarlarımız hem toplum yapımızın hem de ekonomimizin bel kemiğidir. Son 2 yılda toplam 1.187.000 esnaf ve sanatkara toplam 62,5 milyar lira faiz indirimli kredi kullandırdık. Bu desteklerden yararlanan esnaf sayısında %197, kredi miktarında ise %113 artış olduğunu görüyoruz. Yüksek katma değerli, yüksek teknolojili üretim ve ihracatı teşvik amacıyla İstanbul'da bilişim ihtisas serbest bölgesi kurduk. Yerli sanayimizi korumak ve üretim kapasitemizi artırmak amacıyla toplam ithalat rakamı 34,2 milyar dolar olan 5.105 adet ürüne ilave vergi getirdik. Temassız ticaret yöntemini geliştirerek salgın sürecinde Avrupa Birliği üyesi ülkeler, Irak ve İran'la olan ticaretimizin kesintisiz sürmesini sağladık. Lisanslı depolardaki ürünlerin tek bir platform üzerinden alınıp satıldığı Türkiye Ürün İhtisas Borsası'nı faaliyete geçirdik. Lisanslı depo sayımızı son 2 yılda 57 adet artırarak 110'a ve lisanslı depo kapasitesini 3,2 milyon ton artışla 5,7 milyon tona ulaştırdık. 2019 yılında Sarp, Kapıköy ve Çobanbey gümrük kapılarını, 2020 yılında da Öncüpınar, Kapıkule ve Hamzabeyli gümrük kapılarını modernize ettik. Tasfiyelik eşyaların tüm vatandaşlarımızın katılabildiği elektronik ihale yöntemiyle ve online olarak satışına başladık. Bu yöntemle son 2 yılda 596 milyon lira tutarında gelir elde ettik. Son 2 yılda önceki döneme göre %21'lik artış, 6,2 milyar lira değerinde kaçak eşya yakalandı. Rekabet Kanunu, Ürün Güvenliği ve Teknik Düzenlemeler Kanunu çıkardık. Elektronik çek ve bono kanunu teklifini son aşamasına getirdik. Sanayi ve teknolojiye geliyorum. Burada özel sektör, kamu kurumları ve akademiyle istişare içinde hazırladığımız 2023 Sanayi ve Teknoloji Stratejisini kamuoyuna açıkladık. Salgın döneminde sanayimizin kabiliyeti ve kapasitesi sayesinde ihtiyaç duyduğumuz ürünleri kolayca üretebildik. Bunun da ötesinde sağlık alanında yenilikçi ürünler geliştirdik. Küresel rekabet iddiamızı ortaya koyduk. Rekor sürede ürettiğimiz yerli yoğun bakım solunum cihazıyla hem ülkemize hem de dünyaya nefes olduk. Tanı kitleri, aşı ve ilaç alanındaki projelerimiz, yurt dışında yapılan
We also
çalışmaların
manufactured
ötesinde
vaccination
bir
kits,
vizyona
and
sahip.
this has also added to our vision.
Sanayileşme ve milli teknoloji hamlesi hedeflerimize daha hızlı varmak için üst düzey kararları alacak Sanayileşme İcra Komitesi'ni kuruyoruz. Ülkemizin 60 yıllık hayali olan yerli otomobil projesini hayata geçiriyoruz. ...2019'un son günlerinde milletimizin takdirine sunduğumuz Türkiye'nin
the automobile, the car of Turkey, and did the groundbreaking for the manufacturing facility. And hopefully in the last quarter of 2020, the vehicles will be off the production lines. They will be brought down from the production lines, and we will this way be one of the leaders of the world in manufacturing electric car. The charging infrastructure will be infrastructure capacity will be expanded further up until 2020, and we will be self-sufficient. And when it comes to railway systems, we will be one of the main, of course, players of the world. And this year we did refurbished, and the nationally produced train cars will be brought on a line, and we hope and aim to finalize the national high-speed train project. In the framework of our planned industrialization, we completed the construction of 7 industrial organized zones, and this year 6 organized industry zones have now become official entities. This way we have increased the total number of organized industrial zones up to 320. In many cities, in 12 cities, private companies have made an investment worth of $8.5 billion. And in the first half of this year, Konya Technology and Toros Special Industry Zones have been announced, and for long-term petrochemical needs of our country, a strategically important location. Ceyhan, Filyos, and Karapınar industrial zones hopefully will receive investments in the second half of the year. And you can see the region on the screen. All the industrial zones will have railway and port connections. In industry, to ensure productivity and digital transformation in Ankara, Bursa, Izmir, Konya, Mersin, and Gaziantep, we established competency and digital transformation centers. And the private sector has been supported, and about 440,000 citizens will have employment chances, and we have issued many incentive documents accordingly. Through COSGAP, 137,000 enterprises have been totally supported with a total figure of 3.3 billion liras. Thanks to our entrepreneurship incentives and initiatives, we have established 64,000 new enterprises, and 5,007 projects now have been supported, and on the path of innovation. In the past 2 years, we increased the number of R&D centers, and the number increased up to 1,236 from 9,000. The number of technoparks increased from 81 up to 85. An Izmir technology base project will be supported and combined with the power of ICT Valley. From Kocaeli to Izmir, we are establishing a corridor of technology, if you will. We have indeed constructed the system from scratch, and we have started reaping the fruits of this RD ecosystem. And our goal is up until 2023 to create 10 new companies, each of which is worth of at least $10 billion. To further solidify the human resources, we have undertaken critical activities with the International Researchers Program. We have sent and collaborated with the renowned international institutions and global companies of the world, and 127 high-level researchers have visited our country. We have brought them to our country, and in the past 2 years, we have reached out to more than 7 million young people. In the past 2 years, again, 79 young people have obtained 105 medals from international competitions and made their way back home. And to train and educate the stars of the future, we started many projects. One is called Deney Up, Try and Do and Make. And we have established many technology workshops in 81 provinces of the country. We created workshops, and we will train 50,000 specially skilled students. And to further boost the interest towards technology and innovation, we have been organizing Technofest. It is the biggest technology, air, space and aviation festival of the world now. Turkey's space agency will also meet a critical need of our country. When it comes to energy, beyond being self-sufficient, we are determined on our path to be a global hub. And with this, within this framework, we initiated the TANA project in 2005, and from Georgia border all the way to Eskişehir. This connection line was inaugurated in 2015, and Turkstream gas pipelines underwater phase has been finalized, and as of January we have started receiving gas, liquefied gas, natural gas storage and regasification terminal, and underground natural gas storage facilities have been constructed. The first drilling ship of Turkey, PARTİ, started cruising and exploring as well as drilling in the Mediterranean as of 2019, and our second vessel, Yavuz, also started its drilling activities. And this way we will be frustrating the traps that some try to set in front of Turkey in the East Mediterranean. Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus licensed Turkey in terms of petroleum explorations, and in our continental shelf we will continue ceaselessly with our exploration and drilling activities. Distinguished guests, I would like to highlight a special point. With our seismic exploration vessels or drilling vessels, we are not subject to the permission to be granted by some. We do what the international maritime jurisprudence jurisdictions require and international law requires. Pertaining to those, we act, and in line with our rights in the East Mediterranean, we have taken steps forward, and we will do so in the future similarly. Likewise, Akkuyu nuclear power plant is under construction right now. As you know, this is a giant project for which we're cooperating with Russia, and our coal production has broken records of our Republican history. And boron material research laboratory has been established, and boron production facility and laboratory now is under construction. In the past, due to lack of technology, we were importing some raw materials, but now, using our own technology and human resources, we will be processing our own raw materials and sell them abroad. Recently, the investment that we made for local and renewable energy has also started bringing in outcomes. And by the end of 2019, 62% of our energy has been generated through local and renewable energy resources. We have commissioned many facilities, and our installed power capacity increased up to 29,000 megawatts from 87,000. And again, hydroelectric power plants, wind power, and solar power, and geothermal energy installed power has been commissioned. So in energy, Turkey is no longer a country in need of others, and it has become one which is self-sufficient. Annually, 10 million tons of crude petroleum processing will be possible in our refinery, and this will be supplying natural gas to hundreds of districts and cities, and 81 provinces of this country will be supplied with natural gas, and 552 districts will have access to natural gas, distinguished friends. When it comes to foreign affairs, we know that the world is bigger than five, and based on this understanding, in every walk of life, we are struggling for the common good of the humanity. And with this, in 2018, 224 foreign representative offices increased up to 242. And this helps us further boost our effectiveness across the world to find permanent solutions for the Syrian conflict, both at the table and on the field. We have preserved our effectiveness position, and we will. Our brother and neighborly country, and Syrian people of a neighborhood of 1,000 years will be protected, and we will continue to stay in this country until they reclaim their independence and freedom. During those days, there's an election ongoing, a would-be election. Have you just watched it on the TV? What kind of an election is that? Where are those countries who utter the word democracy and democracy over and over again? Do they now articulate a single word? Do they ask what is ongoing there? What kind of an election is this? In the past, we used to have that. It is exactly like what we used to have in past during the single-party period, if you will. So right now, they are doing exactly that in Syria. Speaking of democracy, there are some countries, some who say that they are well advanced, and the United Nations also. No one stands up and asks what they are doing, and the citizens fall short and feel the must to go to the ballot boxes to cast their votes, and now they will be declaring some victory. This is what they will do there. But in the face of all these, we have to make our voices heard, and also raise our voices on behalf of the oppressed and aggrieved, and on the other hand, with the Libyan National Accord, Government of Accord, a memorandum of maritime jurisdiction limitation was signed. and this was signed on legitimate grounds. And on this basis, we are further improving our relations. And on the basis and pertaining to this memorandum of understanding, our country has rights and interests in the East Mediterranean, and we will claim and defend our rights in the East Mediterranean all the way. Besides, we have cooperation in the field of economy and energy with this country, and we are taking steps, and there are some who act in a hostile way against the legitimate government of Libya, and I call on all those to pay respect to this legitimate government and its people, and Turkey is exerting efforts to bring in stability to the region, to protect the territorial integrity of Iraq, and fighting against terrorism, counter-terrorism activities, protecting the rights of Iraqi Turkmens. For all these purposes, we will be exerting further efforts. Our strategic partner in the Gulf region, Qatar, our constructive and comprehensive cooperation has been further solidified with high-level incentives. In the past 2 years, European Security and Cooperation Organization and ICO's term presidencies were held by our country, and we successfully presided both organizations, and we organized more than 30 high-level organizations, and this way brought forward a momentum to the activities of the organization. In the face of illegal acts of Israel in 2017 and 18, we organized 2 extraordinary summits with the theme of Jerusalem. In 2020, Asian Cooperation Dialogue D8, European Security and Cooperation Forum, Economic Cooperation Organization term presidencies were successfully held by our country. The most comprehensive cooperation forum in the Balkans, Southeast European Cooperation process and forum term presidency has now been in Turkey as of July 2020. And at the United Nations General Assembly, for the first time, a candidate for Turkey was elected, thankfully. For the least developed countries, United Nations Technology Bank in 2018, June 4, was opened, and terrorist organizations that threaten Turkey are fought against, and we also fight with the extensions of those non-stop, and to further improve international and national cooperation against those terrorist organizations, we have been putting in a lot of efforts. European Union countries, Russia and the USA are some of the counterparts we are in cooperation and alliance with, and we have been running activities, high-level official activities. And in NATO, to which we are a member, a prominent member, we have high-level talks and, of course, activities. And our national cause, the Cyprus issue, about this we have always remained resolute. When it comes to our EU relations and African continent relations, we have made our best. And to the African countries, 54 of them, we have provided critical aid, and we will continue to do so. The number of the embassies in the African continent has now increased up to 37 in the field of culture and tourism to further make our relations and values stand out. We have been also engaged in a lot of work, and in this regard, the oldest settlement area of the world, Göbekli Tepe, is now in the UNESCO World Heritage. For this historic value to be known, recognized by the whole world, we declared 2009 the year of Göbekli Tepe. And this is one of the most important elements registered in the list, and Turkey ranks among the 5 top of the World Heritage List. And to further attach importance to our historic values, we did 130 excavations, brought many works of art and artifacts from across the world to our country, and the number of the tourists who have visited our country exceeded the figure of 42 million, and now it is about to surpass 52 million this year. And during the pandemic, maybe we could not exactly hit our targets, but hopefully we will be compensating for all the loss we have had.
Plaj sayımız bu dönemde 459'dan 486'ya yükseldi. Son 18 yılda toplam 5,5 milyar lira kaynak kullanarak 5400 tarihi eserimizi restore etmiştik. Son 2 yılda buna 234 eser daha ekledik.
Historical sites to that. Within this year, in Sivas Gök Medrese, in Erzurum Çifte Minareli Madrasa, foundation museums will hopefully be opened. In 2002, 85 million was the overall official development aid, and according to OECD data, last year this increased all the way up to 8.6 billion USD. In terms of overall amount, Turkey ranks the 6th in terms of official aid, and in proportion to the national income, Turkey ranks the 1st in terms of official developmental aid.
Birleşmiş Milletler tarafından konulan milli gelirin
0.7% of the national income should be devoted to aid, says the UN, and Turkey has surpassed this again this year with 1.15%. And in emergency aid and humanitarian aid, Turkey has achieved great success in the last couple of years. Thanks to TİKA and other governmental agencies, we have dressed the wounds of the victims of the Syrian war in Iraq, in Yemen, in Arakan, in Afghanistan, as well in Somalia, and in many other parts of the world. We have always been on the side of the downtrodden and those who have been victims of violence, warfare, and natural catastrophes. Now, Arakan Muslims in Arakan, in Rohingya, have been overlooked by the entire world, but we have been focusing on the camps in Bangladesh to assist them. In the last couple of years, like I said, for our brothers and sisters, we have built more than 300 schools, 75 clinics and hospitals, or we have renovated them in the Balkans, in Eastern Europe, in Central Asia, in the Middle East, and in Africa. In many parts of the world, more than 25 new restoration projects were initiated. In the last 2 years only, in the Balkans and in Eastern Europe, 24 restoration projects were completed or initiated, and Turkey has been also handing out scholarships, 135,000 in 2018, in 2019, 146,000 applications were submitted. In 2020, 155,000 applications were received from 172 countries. Right now, from all across the world, we have students. 16,000 students are actually receiving education in Turkey. In 48 countries, 48 Yunus Emre Turkish Cultural Centers have been established in the last 10 years, and these centers go a long way in terms of promoting Turkey's message. Thanks to the Yunus Emre Institute, an academic cooperation project was also initiated. Members of our honorable nation, distinguished guests, as you have seen, as the President of Turkey, and thanks to the cooperation of our ministries and our public authorities, I have done my best to summarize to you what we have been doing so far, but even the summary has taken for so long, and maybe I have tired you as well. But like we always say, in our politics, it's all about serving the nation, it's all about serving the public, it's all about getting things done. And our word is what we do, what we implement. We use every platform as a means of accountability for our nation. It could be an opening ceremony, a groundbreaking ceremony, or any other event. And in all of these occasions, we talk about what we achieved and what we will achieve. We talk about our agenda, our ups and downs with the entire nation. And today, we are gathered here to celebrate the second anniversary of the executive presidential system as well as our cabinet. That's why we wanted to have this detailed assessment with you all. And if we had tried to not just summarize but mention everything, we would have to be here on the stage for days and days on end. But our nation appreciates every step that we take because they see the reflections of these steps, of these projects on their day-to-day lives. And the greatest happiness in the world is to serve the nation and to make sure that we serve God by serving the nation. And thankfully, we have been doing that for the last 40 years. Every single day of my political life has been dedicated to this. I served as the mayor of the metropolitan city of Istanbul without any discrimination. I served the entire public in Istanbul. When I was the prime minister, I served each and every citizen in 81 provinces all across the nation. And then I became the president, and I stuck to the same motto, and I worked day and night. And if there is a success that we can talk of today, that success belongs to God and then to the nation at large. Thanks to the support of our nation and thanks to the benevolence of Allah, we have achieved these accomplishments. Without those two, we would never have been able to accomplish any of these. 26th of August is coming up, the anniversary of Manzikert, and on the 25th, from Ahlat to Manzikert, this glorious march was initiated. And right now, we are hoping to organize an event in Ahlat. We are hoping to launch a branch of the presidential complex in Ahlat. Hopefully we will be there on the 25th of August. We will stay the night in Ahlat, and then the next morning we will be moving towards Manzikert, Malazgirt. But of course this coronavirus pandemic precludes us from socializing, but one way or another we will, like I said, stay the night in Ahlat, and we will follow the trail of Sultan Alparslan and walk towards Malazgirt, and on the 26th we will be in Malazgirt, and then we will conclude our program and hopefully get back to work. Now, we always believe that those who look down upon people will lose their power sooner or later. In Ahlat, right besides Lake Van, we have completed this great project, and it befits Sultan Alparslan, and we were able to achieve this as well. because we believe that once people pass away, it's all about what you have achieved and what you bequeath the next generations. That's why we take this very seriously. And thankfully, we were able to appreciate the importance of this. We fought hard, we worked hard, and we have always retained our faith. That's why we are here today. And inshallah, in the upcoming period, with the same sentiment, with the same logic, with the same faith, and with the same amount of courage, we will always face the future, and we will continue this struggle. Turkey is going through difficult times and historic times, especially for the last 7 years. We have been the target of ceaseless attacks, and these attacks have targeted our history, our faith, our culture, our unity, our integrity as a nation, and targeted our homeland, our fraternity, our Adhan, our flag, and all our sacred values. We know this to be the case. We know this very well indeed. We have witnessed street events and coup attempts. Terrorist organizations were provoked, and our economy was targeted. And all of these attacks actually served the same purpose. We have no doubt whatsoever about that. But our nation did their best, because our nation has an experience of 1,000 years, and our nation has sided with the independence of this country and the future of this country. What is incumbent on us is to do what we are expected to do, to frustrate all the efforts in and outside Turkey, work harder every single day, tirelessly, to make sure that Turkey meets its 2023 goals. Until that day, we will not rest. We will continue on this path without any hindrance. We will know no barriers. We will not be disheartened by any impediment. We will always raise the bar, and we will continue on this glorious path. As the President and the Presidential Cabinet, inshallah, we will celebrate our 4th year, our 5th year all together, and we will have these assessments, and in the run-up to 2023, we will continue to work non-stop. May Allah help us. Thank you very much indeed. I greet you all once again with my deepest regards. Thank you.
Saygılarımızı arz ediyoruz ve zat-ı